Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. So today I want to talk a little bit about plein air and plein air painting, because since April or May I've started again to do some plein air painting, and I already have a video where I talk about all my supplies. I'll probably do an update maybe this summer or next summer, we'll see, depending on how it goes. But basically the basics are still the same. I have my palette of dry gouache, and I talk about this also on my blog, so I will link this in the description. So yeah, I'm just getting sidetracked. So what I'm gonna do today is actually talk about one of my first plein air experience this year, and I went to a really nice place in the countryside in the north of Austria, near the Czech Republic, and I wanted to start plein air painting season. So those are things I've done there, and I think there's another one somewhere, but maybe on another sketchbook, I don't know, definitely not on this one. And yeah, I've done a little forest thingy here, and then some just basic ink drawing with some washes for the shadows. I really like how this turned out, but I really don't like how this turned out. And that's one problem when I'm doing plein air, is that I'm always a little bit under stress, and I'm just not enjoying completely what is happening. So yeah, I just end up kind of rushing through it and not taking the time to think about what I'm doing, and I don't know, I find it hard to get in the zone, and I don't know, maybe my supplies are not exactly the right ones. I use a lot of water brushes, like those two here, which don't allow me to get a super nice water control. So I don't know, there are a lot of things that make the experience not as enjoyable as I would like it to be. So what I was thinking is that today I'm gonna be redoing this one, because I take a picture of what I wanted to do. So I have the picture here on my computer. I will also insert it somewhere in the video, and I will try to do it again to really think about this place and to try to improve from this short one that I did maybe 20 minutes in plein air to a new one. And I will try to draw some lessons on how to approach this kind of scenes, and maybe bring that to my next plein air experience. And what I will be doing also is using the same supplies as I have in plein air. So I have here my dry gouache palette. I have here my little watercolor palette. This is a new one, it was not in my supply list that I've used before. But and I will use my travel brushes. And I have my water brushes, and I have all the things I have in plein air in this pencil case here. So basically you have a lot of colored pencils, some white stuff, like white gel pen, white paint pen, and liners and things like that. So I will try to, I won't be in the same exact, I'm just spraying my dry gouache. I won't be exactly in the same, obviously in the same context as when I'm in plein air, but I think it will also help me to get a little bit more familiar with all of my supplies, and hopefully it won't feel as strange the next time I go outside, and I will feel a little bit more confident. And I will be doing this here on this paper. This is mixed media paper, and yeah, I will just try to redo this scene and to hopefully do it in a way that is more satisfying than the last one. And I will try to go a little bit bigger, because I think also I tend to draw really small when I'm doing plein air. So I don't know. Let's see how it goes. I will start with a short composition sketch to get the hang and to start moving my hands. Let's just create this. And what you can see, the images I have inserted are just some short footage of the hike during which I've done this sketch here. So it's just to give you a little bit of the context and to show where I was and what was happening. So yeah, it was a really nice hike, very sunny day. We went to a riverside. It was super nice, and it's a place I really enjoy. It's not very there are not a lot of mountains, but it's super nice either. It's still super nice. So I really like this place. So basically I have 2 trees in focus, I think, these 2 and then I have a lot of other trees in the background that are just here to kind of add some complexity in the background. But I don't need to put them as much in the focus. I really have to have the focus on this 2. And I think the lights and darks are quite hard in this image, because there is kind of light on the. Let me use this. So the flowers are white here, and there is light coming on this part here. So it's not really white, it's not helping. Ooh, okay, now it's flowing. So that's one issue, for instance. I'm not sure it's really a good one to take outside if it's just behaving like that. I should probably stick to another white solution. So this is quite white, and some of the foliage is also, the light is coming, I'd say, from there. And so you have kind of the light peering through the trees and hitting some of the upper foliage. So that's something I will try to keep. And this part here is really in the shadows. So the bottom part is much more in the shadows, the other part is a little bit more in the light, and the left part is more in the light than the right part. So I'll try to keep that in mind when I'm doing the bigger one. So let's frame something again and see. I think because there are lots of layers in here, I will try to use my dry gouache. And I will also take the time to frame it, because I have also a painter tape on my setup for plein air, but I end up almost never using it. I don't know exactly why. So this time I think it's a good thing just to take your time to put your tape on and just set up, find a good setup and find a good place to paint and not rush through it. And if you don't have time to paint, then maybe you will paint the next time. But if you paint, do it properly, or just do a small sketch. Because I tend to want to do bigger things when I don't have time, and then I end up rushing them and not really enjoying the process. I think it's a little bit of a shame. So I would start with some kind of gradient, I think. Let's see. And the paper I have when painting outside is not a paper that takes a lot of layers, so that's why I didn't went for my watercolor paper. Like this time I did on watercolor, but usually I paint on just some kind of mixed media paper, which cannot take so many layers. So I'm also trying to keep that in mind when I'm doing this, just to put myself a little bit more in the conditions of having a paper that I have to be careful with the amount of water I'm putting in and all these things. Oh, and also in the clips, I don't know if I've already included it or if I will be including it later, you can also see some of another sketch that I've done outside. This one was a gouache also, I think, but on a different paper, on some tone paper. And same, tone paper is something I haven't mastered yet, let's say. So it's also something I want to continue working on. And I will try to do more of this lesson learned or plein air experience videos. So let me know if you're interested, and I will try to do some more of those, because I think it's really nice to not only go plein air, but try to make the experience as enjoyable as possible and just learn from it. And yeah, just take as much as you can back inside and learn from that. And I'm still trying to find ways to make my experience of plein air as enjoyable as possible. But yeah, it's a learning process, and I still have a long way to go, I think, to really find the process that suits me the best. Which is good. And this summer I will try to do as much plein air as I can and to film bits of it. So I'm not sure it will be a proper plein air video or plein air vlog, but I will try to post some kind of recap of the plein air sessions I've had and maybe do a voiceover on top of them to explain the hurdles and stuff. I still have difficulties to film plein air because it's so hard to have everything in focus and to have everything in the right place, but I will do my best. Anyway, I keep rambling around. So now I will do a first layer. And also, just another thought is, I think it's really good to use the supplies that you'd be using plein air, even when you're in the studio, just to learn a little bit more about your paints, about how you can layer them, how you can mix them, the mixes you can achieve, and things like that. So I think it's quite interesting to do this exercise. So now I'm just putting some trees in the distance and just putting a first layer of trees that are going a little bit in every direction. I'm trying to change the colors of them as I go also, so that I don't have the same tree everywhere. And I don't need to put as much as they are in the real picture. So it's also about stylizing and just conveying the feeling that you have when you see this. And when I see my picture, I have this feeling of a very lush forest. So I need to be able to convey that, but not putting as many details as they are in the real one. So what I will be doing now is put a first layer of foliage, but keep it very loose for now. And I'm putting it more blue on the right side and at the bottom. So I try to do as little layers as possible, because my paper won't take too many layers anyway. So try to keep it simple and try to think about your lights and darks. So the more I'm going to the left side, the more yellow I'm putting on my paint, just to convey this feeling here. And I'm going over the trees I've painted because I want to push them in the background. And I'm going darker at the bottom because it is the darker spot in my overall picture. So I'm trying to think a little bit about the values too when I'm doing this. And I can see that this place here is where it should be the darkest. So I've already tried to do that when I was doing my gradients, but I'm continuing to push that with the layers I'm putting on top. My paper is buffing so much here. I mean, that's okay. And what I can see also in my picture is that where there is a lot of light, there is also some very dark darks for the trees, for the leaves that are backlit. So I'm also adding some darker leaves to put a little bit of this contrast already. So that's it for this layer, I think. And now I'm going to do the focus trees. So mixing a color, I want to have my brush a little bit more pigmented here. And I'm going to do this tree here. yeah, I'm not very used to working with dry gouache yet, so, and I don't think my dry gouache is the best quality dry gouache because it sometimes has difficulty to, I sometimes have difficulty to build up the opacity when I'm reweighting it. And depending on the paper, it can be also very hard to layer on top of existing things. And the more I look at the picture, the more things I see. So, for instance, I see that the upper part of the tree is a little bit lighter than the down part. So I'm going to put a little bit more yellow at the top and a little more blue at the bottom here, just to push this contrast again. Okay. So now what's left to do is to put the clusters of leaves that are on top of this. So yeah, now we need to do the clusters of trees that are on top of everything. So same, I need to go a little bit more pigmented again. And maybe I will switch to my smaller brush here because this one is very watery. So I will use this one where I will hopefully have a little bit better water control. And I will start with the darker leaves that are going on top here. And one other thing is that I always tend to overwork a little bit my paintings when I'm painting outside. Because on the one hand I don't have enough time, and on the one hand I keep touching the same places. So I really have a hard time finding the balance and also creating a variety of forms on my painting. They all tend to be a little bit flat somehow. I'm just doing some splashes because I think it will add to the variety, because I can't do every single leaf everywhere. So I'm thinking maybe by doing some splashes it will also help give this feeling of lots of leaves and lots of things happening. But these are definitely not the best ones to do that. Just put some paint everywhere. Anyway, my computer is already covered in paint, so I guess it doesn't matter that much. And the table is too. Well. So I have a bit of a lighter color just to bring back this light on the forest here. And yeah, I think I will leave it that way for the upper part here, trying not to overwork it too much. And then I'm just gonna add some more details to the forest floor here. I mean the foreground. Just doing some shapes and adding some details. The foreground is super light compared to the background, but it's also kind of bluish in a way. So I'm going for a very saturated look, like so. And I will also be adding a little bit of white gouache into my mix, just to create some variety in the type of colors that I'm getting. And also adding some darker tones to give an impression of shadows here and there also, because the light cannot exist without the shadows, so you need to have some darker tones for your lighter ones to show on top. I'm gonna add, I always have a tube also of white gouache with me, of fresh white gouache. Now we'll just take a little bit of this white gouache here to add the flowers and to add some of these details here. But yeah, that will be more or less it, I think. Let me take this off, see how it looks. So that would be it. I'm not super happy, like I'm really happy with how it turned out compared to the first one. Let me just zoom in so that you can see. Here is the final result. I think it turned out to be very much easier to read than the first one. The first one was kind of all messy and going weird here, and very dark and going in every direction. This one is easier to read. You can see that it's the first scene. I think I could have added some more trees in the background to make more this impression of very lushy forest. You kind of lose this a little bit here. So maybe having more green in the background, less yellow, and have more green there with a little bit more brown popping here and there to give this impression. The foreground is way better than the last one. The last one was kind of a messy foreground, and I've added some colored pencils on top to try to bring back some of the details, but it was a little bit too late and I went overboard with the white. This one I think is much more balanced. The composition is a little bit better, just to have these two trees in focus and a few in the background and then the foreground here. I think it works better. I still don't feel very confident with the water brushes. I mean, for quick washes it's fine, but for complete pieces I still find that I'm not finding the right way to use them. I think it's better if you're doing just a sketch with ink and then using them for very quick watercolor washes on top, but for full pieces I should probably be using more of my travel brushes here, which are regular brushes, but then I need to find a way to use how to manage water when I'm outside. I've started a little bit with this one because it has a built-in well for water, but when I'm using my full palette I have something very bulky for now for water, so it kind of prevents me from taking it outside. But yeah, lesson learned, I would say that when you have a complex scene, you don't have to render all the complexity, but you can just bring it down to basic shapes and not overwork it. Just do 3 to 4 layers and that's all. And it doesn't have to take a lot of time, but just act as if you have time. Like it took me maybe 10 minutes to do this one, and it took me maybe 15 to 20 minutes to do the smaller one because I kept overworking it. Here I had a cleaner plan in head, and I just went with this plan and try not to get frustrated when it's not looking as though the way you would like to look at in the middle. Maybe it has an ugly stage, but it doesn't mean that it will end up ugly. And I kind of like the look of this one. Simplify the backgrounds, doing a gradient I think really helped me to get in, because if you start with shapes, I find it hard not to get overwhelmed, so especially with complex scenes like this one. So a very simple, blended background with the gradients was really the right way to go for me for this one. And yeah, so that's my lesson learned for this one. Cleaner edges definitely helps to give a very clean look, and dare to do some splashes and do some more spontaneous things instead of keeping it very stiff. I think I need to give myself this liberty even when I'm outside, and even if I'm making a mess and putting it everywhere. So yeah, those are my lessons learned for this plein-air session, and I will try. I'm not sure how much I can do because I will be a lot traveling this summer, but I will try to do some more lesson learned like that, because I'm still not happy with the way my plein air paintings look like. And I think the more I bring them back in the studio to rework on them and try to draw lessons from them, the better it will become. And of course, continue to work and try new things outside. So those are my goals for the summer, and I will keep you posted on how it goes here, or maybe on my blog or anywhere. So yeah, that's it for this one. I hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye!